Pokemon. Show time. Chapter 1. Gary, again. This town sure is crowded, Ash Ketchum said. I wonder what's going on. Ash and his friends Misty and Brock had wandered into the town to find food and a place to sleep. Together they were on a journey to capture and train Pokemon, creatures with amazing powers. Orange-haired Misty hugged Togepi, a baby Pokemon, close to her. This place is a little too noisy for me, Misty said. Togepi could use a nap. Togi! Togi, cooed the Pokemon. Togepi flapped its tiny arms. They stuck out of the colorful eggshell that covered its body. Pika, agreed Pikachu, Ash's Pokemon. The yellow lightning mouse Pokemon always walked alongside its trainer. Brock scanned the crowded street. I don't know if we'll find a quiet place in this town, said the older boy. But maybe we can find out what's going on. Good idea, Ash said. A boy his age stood nearby. The boy had 6 red and white Pokeballs attached to a belt around his waist. Ash recognized him as a fellow Pokemon trainer. He approached the boy. What's happening in this town? Ash asked. Some kind of Pokemon competition? Ash hoped that was true. He never missed a chance to battle other Pokemon trainers. It was the best way to get experience. Something like that, the boy replied. He pointed to a large building down the street. That's where all the action is. Great! Ash said. He turned to his friends. Let's check it out. Misty sighed. Okay, Ash. But we've got to rest soon. Togepi is getting cranky. Ash didn't reply. He was too busy charging down the street. Pikachu ran at his heels. Ash skidded to a stop in front of the large, white building. It looked like some kind of theater. A wooden sign above the door read, Rehearsal Hall. This is an unusual place for a Pokemon battle, Ash told Pikachu. Pika! Pikachu nodded. Ash opened the doors, and he and Pikachu stepped inside. The room was crowded with trainers and Pokemon. But the Pokemon weren't battling. In fact, Ash thought they were acting. A girl in a white tuxedo jacket and skirt was throwing colorful balls to Seal, a water-type Pokemon. The Seal caught the balls on its nose, one by one. A boy in a sparkling suit was tap dancing and singing a song. Farfetch'd, a normal W and flying-type Pokemon, danced along to the music. A girl wearing a karate uniform was doing a complicated-looking karate routine with Machop, a fighting-type Pokemon. All over the room, Pokemon and their trainers were singing, dancing, and doing tricks. Misty and Brock caught up with Ash. What's going on here? Ash asked his friends. I've never seen anything like it. Before they could answer, a nasal voice interrupted. So, Ash, we meet again. A boy with spiky brown hair stood there. The boy wore a long, sleeved blue shirt and sithed jeans. Behind him, a group of girls wearing cheerleader uniforms and carrying pom-poms waved at Ash. Gary! Ash said in disbelief. He and Gary had grown up together in Pallet Town. They had started their Pokemon journeys at the same time. Gary was Ash's greatest rival. They were always trying to outdo each other. So you're entering the Pokemon talent show, are you? Gary asked. There must be a mistake. This isn't a talentless show. That's the show you should be entering. Ash frowned. Gary, why are you still giving me a hard time? I thought that was over when I did better than you in the Pokemon League tournament. Every trainer's dream was to become a member of the Pokemon League. To get in, you had to battle other trainers. Ash and Gary had both competed at the tournament. Gary laughed. Is that what you think? The way I see it, you're still a loser. After all, you didn't win. Ash felt his face flush with anger. Brock put a hand on his shoulder. Misty jumped into the conversation. So, Gary, tell us about the talent show. Haven't you heard? Gary replied. The competition is for trainers and their Pokemon. You're judged on how entertaining the act is, how well your Pokemon are trained, and how well you perform as a trainer. All of the best trainers compete. So what's your act? Misty asked. Gary beamed proudly. It's only the most spectacular stage show ever. I'll be singing a song I wrote called Gary is the Greatest. It'll have fireworks, cheerleaders, and a dancing chorus line of all my Pokemon. Gary is the greatest, all the cheerleaders cheered, waving their pom-poms. So what's your act, Ash? Gary sneered. Or are you just going to stand on stage and beg the judges for pity? Ash felt his blood boil. Gary was too much. He had to show Gary that he was no loser, once and for all. I have a fantastic act planned, Ash said. Much better than your stupid song. It's going to blow the judges away. I'll believe it when I see it, Ash, Gary said. He and the group of cheerleaders walked away, laughing. You really stood up for yourself, Brock said. Good for you. Yeah, Ash said. But Misty shook her head. Ash, there's only one problem, she said. What's that? Ash asked. You don't have an act. Misty said. Chapter 2. Persian versus Squirtle. I've got plenty of talent, Ash said. I'm a great Pokemon trainer. I caught a Snorlax, didn't I? And a Lapras. I bet nobody here can say that. Maybe not, Misty said. But they can sing and dance and do tricks. That's what this competition is about. Ash frowned. I guess you're right, he said. He looked around the rehearsal hall at the Pokemon and their trainers. One boy was throwing balls to an Exeggutor, a combination grass and psychic-type Pokemon. The Exeggutor was catching the balls with its feet. A girl was doing a comedy act in one corner of the room. Next to her, a Haunter laughed at all her jokes. Ash turned to Pikachu. We can do this together, Pikachu, Ash said. There must be something you can do. Can you sing? Pikachu shook its head. Can you dance? Ash asked. Pikachu shook its head. Ash tried again. Can you juggle? Pikachu shook its head a third time. You must have some special talent, Ash said to the Pokemon. Pika! Pika! Pikachu smiled. Tiny little sparks flew from its bright red cheeks. The yellow Pokemon aimed a small electric charge at Ash. Aya-aya-wah! Ash cried as the electricity tingled through his body. Pikachu, that's not what I had in mind. Pikachu apologized. Misty and Brock couldn't help laughing. That's what I call a shocking act, Misty said between giggles. Dejected, Ash walked away from his friends. I'll think of something, Ash called back over his shoulder. You'll see. Ash sank down on the edge of a small paddling pool, his face in his hands. I've got to find a way to win this competition, Ash thought to himself. I've got to beat Gary somehow. What have you done with my seal? Ash snapped to attention at the sound of the angry voice. It belonged to a girl about his age. She had curly brown hair and wore a costume, a white tuxedo jacket and a skirt. On the back of her jacket, the words Sally and her amazing seal were written in sequins. Where is it? Sally asked him. I don't know what you're talking about, Ash said. I didn't touch your seal. It was here in this pool a few minutes ago, Sally said. We were practicing. I went to get a drink of water, and now it's gone. That's too bad, Ash said. But I save your story, Sally said angrily. There's only one way to solve this. Sally took a red and white pokeball from her jacket pocket. I challenge you to a battle against my performing Pokemon, she said. 2 Pokemon each. She threw the ball into the air. Persian, you're on. Sally cried. A sleek white Pokemon that looked like a jungle cat burst forth in a blaze of light. Persian had a round red jewel in the middle of its forehead. Ash had never battled a Persian before. He thought quickly. Squirtle, I choose you. Ash threw a pokeball and a Pokemon that looked like a turtle appeared. Squirtle was cute, but Ash knew it had powerful water attacks. Sally didn't hesitate and launched Persian's counterattack straight away. Persian, growl. Sally ordered the normal type Pokemon. A snarl crossed Persian's face. A low, rumbling growl started in its throat. Persian opened its mouth and the growl poured out. Squirtle covered its ears with its hands. It started to lose its balance. What's happening? Ash asked. Sally smiled. Growl lowers an opponent's attack power, she said. Now Persian's ready for its next attack. Persian, bite. Squirtle fell to the ground, weakened. Persian bared its sharp teeth. Then it sprang into the air. No! Ash cried. Chapter 3. Seal's Disappearing Act. Squirtle. Water gun, fast. Ash cried. Squirtle struggled to stand up. Persian lunged toward the water-type Pokemon, ready to sink its teeth into Squirtle's arm. Just in time, Squirtle shot a forceful blast of water right at Persian. The water pushed Persian back. The classy cat Pokemon thudded to the floor. Its prized fur was dripping with water. Persian hissed at Squirtle. I never met a cat that liked taking a bath. Ash said, chuckling. Misty, Brock, and Pikachu ran up. What's going on? Brock asked. You guys are just in time, Ash said. He held out Squirtle's Pokeball. Squirtle, return. Ash called out. Squirtle disappeared into the Pokeball. Ash turned to Pikachu. Finish this up, Pikachu. Squirtle's water will help conduct your electricity. Pika pika. Pikachu said, nodding. It closed its eyes, building up an electric charge in its body. Pikachu! Pikachu hurled a thunderbolt at the soggy Persian. The classy cat Pokemon lit up with the charge. Then it sank to the floor in a heap. Sally ran to her Pokemon's side. Persian, are you okay? She asked. We can end this battle now, Ash said. I'm telling you, I didn't take your seal. Is that what this is about? Misty asked. She turned to Sally. Ash would never steal someone's Pokemon. Sally sighed. She stroked Persian, which purred quietly. Then she took out Persian's Pokeball. Show's over, Persian, she said, and Persian returned to its ball. Sally faced Ash. I'm sorry, Ash. I just got really upset when I realized that Seal was missing. Sally said. Seal was the first Pokemon I ever caught. It's more than a Pokemon to me. It's a good friend. Ash knew what Sally meant. He couldn't imagine how he would feel if anything ever happened to Pikachu. I understand, Ash said. Why don't you tell me exactly what happened? Maybe we can figure out where Seal is. Sally smiled weakly. Thanks, she said. I told you, I left the pool to get a drink of water. When I came back, Seal was gone. Did you see anything at all unusual? Brock asked her. Sally seemed thoughtful. Then her eyes lit up. I didn't see anything, she said. But I did hear something unusual. There was some really strange music playing. Ash looked at the performers who filled the room. There are a lot of strange sounds in this place right now, Arguso. Sally shook her head. It wasn't like normal music. It was kind of creepy. Brock scratched his head. Is that all you can remember? Sally sighed. That's it. Don't worry, Sally, Misty said. You'll find your Seal. Well, standing around here isn't going to do any good, Sally said. I'm going to search every inch of this place. We'll look for Seal, too. Brock called after her as she walked away. We'll search for Seal while we think of an act for me, Ash reminded him. I'm still going to enter this contest. Misty shook her head. Ash, you can't win everything, you know. Why don't you face it? You don't have what it takes to enter a talent show. Just then, Gary walked by. He heard Misty's words and broke into a huge smile. Listen to your friend, Ash, Gary taunted him. Don't even bother to enter. You'll only lose to me as usual. As Gary walked away, Ash felt anger build inside him. That's it! Ash said, thrusting his fist in the air. I'm going to win this contest, no matter what I have to do. Chapter 4. Team Rocket's Secret Weapon. Ash was miserable inside the rehearsal hall, but just outside, there were two happy people and one very happy Pokemon. One was a teenage girl with long red hair. One was a teenage boy with blue hair and green eyes. The Pokemon was a white scratch cat Pokemon that walked on two legs. They were Jessie, James, and Meowth. Team Rocket. This trio of troublemakers was on a mission to steal rare Pokemon for their boss, Giovanni. The Pokemon they wanted most of all was Ash's Pikachu. I can't believe it, James said. The boss's new invention works. Jessie, James, and Meowth huddled together in a circle. In the center sat a frightened water-type Pokemon. A seal. The seal looked like it was in a daze. It works all right, Jessie said. But we shouldn't talk about it here. It's too crowded. Let's get back to our hideout. Team Rocket shoved the dazed seal into a sack and hurried down the street. They all turned the corner and entered a store. Musical instruments were displayed in the windows. A sign above the store read G's Music Store. Once inside, Meowth closed the shades. James released the seal. And Jessie held up a gold flute. It glittered in the lamplight. "This flute works like a charm," Jessie said, her eyes gleaming. "The boss is a genius. All I have to do is play a tune, and Pokémon leave their trainers and come right to us." Meowth. "It's flute-tastic," Meowth said. "Meowth is right," James said. "It's so easy to steal a seal." Meowth laughed at James's rhyme. "You're a poet and you didn't know it," the Pokémon said. James got a dreamy look in his eyes. "Maybe I can read my poetry in the talent show," he said. "I can see it now. The amazing James. His fabulous rhymes will make you insane." Jessie bopped James on the head with the flute. "James doesn't rhyme with insane, you poor excuse for a poet," she said. "Besides, I'm the one who's going to enter the talent show. I'll play this flute, and all the Pokémon will leave their trainers and follow me on to the stage." "Right," Meowth said. "Then they'll fall / into the secret trapdoor we rigged up there. James and I will scoop them up. And we'll have more Pokémon than we can handle," James said. "Exactly," Jessie said. "So you two had better not mess this up." "Don't be silly, Jess," James said. "There's no way this plan can go wrong." "You're forgetting one thing," Meowth said. "You need a Pokémon in your talent show act. Those are the rules." Jessie's face clouded. "That's right," she said. "I wonder which Pokémon to choose." Meowth cleared its throat. It danced a little tap dance. It did a backflip. Then it landed in a split. "I've got it," Jessie said. "Yes?" Meowth asked hopefully. Jessie took out a Pokeball. She threw it, and a large, pink Pokémon popped out. "Lickitung can accompany me on the piano," Jessie said. "Right, Lickitung?" Lickitung unrolled its long, sticky tongue. It flopped its tongue onto a piano in the store. It licked the keys, plunking out a strange tune. "Just perfect," Jessie said, beaming. But Meowth looked upset. So did James. "How come we don't get to be in the talent show?" Meowth and James moaned together. "Seal," came a deep voice. Jessie, James, and Meowth spun around. The water-type Pokémon was glaring at them. It didn't look dazed anymore. "What's the deal with that seal?" James asked. Then he smiled. "Hey, I made another rhyme." Jessie bopped him on the head again. "Come on, James. Rhyme time is over. It looks like the seal has woken up from the flute's spell." "Seal," the Pokémon replied angrily. James took a Pokeball from his pocket. "On no problem," he said. "I'll just seal that seal inside this ball." James tossed the Pokeball at the seal. Seal butted the ball away with its head. "It doesn't look like this is going to be so easy," Meowth said. Seal slid across the floor toward James. "Nice seal," James said nervously, looking at the Pokémon. "Good seal." Seal lowered its head and picked James up. Then it began to spin him around on its nose, as if James were a giant ball. "Do something!" James yelled as he spun around and around. Meowth sprang into attack position. But before it could lunge, Seal tossed James into the air. James flew across the room and crashed through the front door. "Seal!" The water-type Pokémon sped through the open door and down the street. It's getting away, Meowth cried. It started to chase after the water-type Pokemon. Jessie stopped Meowth. Let it go, Jessie said. We were just testing out the flute today, anyway. Tomorrow night, that seal will be ours. You're right, Jess, James said. And so will all the other Pokemon in town. Chapter 5. Brock Rocks. At the end of the day, Ash and his friends found a campsite in the town park. As the sun set, they set up their sleeping bags. Misty built a campfire, and Brock cooked dinner. Pikachu and Togepi played hide-and-seek in the sleeping bags. Ash sat cross-legged in front of the fire, deep in thought. He had to come up with an act for the talent competition. Maybe I can sing, Ash said. He cleared his throat. The Pokemon trainer went to town, riding on a Ponyta. He stuck a gym badge in his cap and called it Dash. Pika! Pika! Pikachu cried. Both Pikachu and Togepi were holding their ears and frowning. Ash, please stop making that terrible racket, Misty said. Ash broke off, sighing. It wasn't that bad, was it? He asked. Pikachu and Togepi nodded their heads. Brock set a plate of food in front of Ash. Cheer up, Ash, Brock said. You've won lots of contests. You've earned lots of badges. Why is this one soon important to you? Ash lowered his eyes. I want to beat Gary, Ash muttered. He's never going to let me forget this if he wins. Brock shook his head. Gary only wins if you let him bother you, he pointed out. If you ignore him, then you're the winner. Ash didn't look convinced. Still, Misty said. Gary is pretty annoying. You can say that again, Ash agreed. The friends dug into their supper. Pikachu and Togepi ate special Pokemon food that Brock had prepared for them. When they were finished, Brock cleared the plates. I'll do the dishes, he volunteered. Squirtle can help, Ash said. He released Squirtle from its Pokeball. Squirtle, help. Brock with the dishes. Squirtle, said the water-type Pokemon. Squirtle filled a basin with water. Brock washed the dishes in the basin, and Squirtle rinsed them off with sprays of water. Ash decided not to worry about the contest. He played hide-and-seek with Eloy, Pikachu and Togepi instead. Ash was hiding in a sleeping bag when a beautiful melody filled the air. Hey, Geodude, don't try so hard. Take that rock pile and lift it higher. Ash poked his head out of the sleeping bag. It was Brock, singing a song. Misty heard it, too. Wow, Brock, Misty said. You have a great singing voice. I never noticed it before. Brock blushed. I always like to sing when I work, he said. Ash jumped to his feet. That's it, Ash said. Brock, you can enter the talent competition. Brock looked unsure. I don't know, Ash, Brock said. I've never sung in front of people before. You'll be great, Ash said. But don't forget, Brock said, I need Pokemon in the act, too. Now Misty looked excited. Brock, I think Ash is onto something. We can all help. It will be fun. What do you mean? Brock asked. I used to perform with my sisters at the Cerulean City Gym, remember? Misty reminded them. We had to swim, make the music, design the costumes, do everything ourselves. I think I can put board together and act for us. What do you say, Brock? Ash asked. We can all be in this competition together. Brock hesitated. All right, he said finally. I'll give it a try. Great, said Misty happily. Watch Togepi. I'll be right back. Misty sped off down the street. Ash and Brock finished cleaning up the campsite. Almost half an hour later, Misty came back to the park. A guitar was slung over her shoulder. In her arms she carried a pair of cymbals, a set of bongo drums and with silver chimes attached. Where'd you get this stuff? Ash asked. I rented it from a music store I noticed down the street, Misty said. The owners were kind of weird, though. She shrugged. Anyway, I think I got what we need. She set up the chimes so that the pole stood on two legs in the ground. She handed the cymbals to Ash. Brock, call on Geodude, Misty said. Sure, Brock said. He opened Geodude's Bice Delu Pokeball. Geodude looked like a big, round rock W with two strong, muscular arms. Geodude, it said in a deep voice. Then Misty threw a Pokeball. A water-type Pokemon that looked like a blue-green seahorse popped out. Horsia, said the Pokemon. Okay, Misty said. Here's what we'll do. I'll play the guitar. Brock will sing. Geodude can bang out the beat on the drums. Pikachu and Togepi can dance. And Horsia will play the chimes. How does it do that? Brock asked. Just watch, Misty said. Horsia shot quick streams of water out of its snout. The streams hit the chimes one by one, making them ring. It played a short and pretty tune. Cool, Ash said. He looked at his cymbals. What do I do with these? Misty avoided his eyes. You bang them when the song is over. That's it? Ash asked. Yeah, Misty said. But it's a very important job. You're like the grand finale. Ash brightened a bit. Yeah, that's true. You're right. Just as long as I'm in the act that's going to beat Gary. We won't have any chance of beating Gary unless we rehearse, Misty said. Right. Brock said. Of course. So what song should we do? Well, it's a Pokemon competition, Ash said. Why don't we do the Pokemon trainer song? Great idea. Misty said. Geodude, hit it. Geodude bounced up and down happily, setting the beat. Brock started to sing. I want to be the very best, like no one ever was. Misty closed her eyes and nodded her head as she played the guitar. Geodude drummed to the beat. Horsia shot water at the chimes. Pikachu and Togepi danced to the music. Ash waited for the last line to play his part. Gotta catch 'em all, Pokemon. Bang! Ash crashed the cymbals. That was great, Misty said. We just might beat Gary after all. Misty and Brock put Horsia and Geodude back inside their Pokeballs. Get some rest, Misty told them. We've got a big day tomorrow. Ash couldn't wait until the talent show. Suddenly, another melody filled the night. A strange melody. What's that? Ash asked. Misty and Brock listened. It sounds like a poke flute, Brock said. But I've never heard anything exactly like it before. Ash turned to Pikachu. What do you all think? Ash gasped. Pikachu and Togepi were both walking out of the campsite, towards the sound of the mysterious music. Ash dived after them. "Where are you two going?" he asked, grabbing them both in his arms. Misty quickly snatched Togepi and put the baby Pokémon safely inside her backpack. But Pikachu struggled to get out of Ash's arms. It ran towards the music again. "Pikachu!" Ash cried. "Come back!" Chapter 6. Save Pikachu. "Bulbasaur, I choose you!" Ash yelled. He threw a Pokeball, and a Pokémon that resembled a small dinosaur appeared. "Bulbasaur, use your Vine Whip to get Pikachu!" Ash cried. "Bulbasaur!" The green plant bulb on Bulbasaur's back opened up, and two long vines shot out. They reached out and wrapped around Pikachu. "Way to go, Dog Bear Bulbasaur!" Ash said. "Now bring Pikachu back to me." But Bulbasaur didn't obey. Instead, it slowly lowered Pikachu to the ground. Then Bulbasaur and Pikachu both walked towards the sound of the music. Ash ran after them. "Ash, I think the flute music has them under some kind of spell," Brock said, running behind him. "We need to make the sound stop somehow." Ash stopped. "I think I know what to do," he said. He started singing as loud as he could. The Poke Trainer went to town, riding on his Ponyta. Ash's off-key voice drowned out the sound of the flute. Bulbasaur moaned. Pikachu held its ears. Then they both turned around and smiled at Ash. Ash stopped singing. The night was quiet. The flute music had stopped, too. DLAD Pika. Pikachu jumped into Ash's arms. Do Pika, Pikachu. Bulbasaur, added Bulbasaur. "I know you didn't mean to run away," Ash told his Pokémon. That flute music had something to do with it. Misty caught up with them. "Ash, didn't Sally say that she heard some strange music when her seal disappeared?" Misty asked. "That's right," Ash said. Brock looked thoughtful. "A flute that can lure Pokémon away from their trainers," he said. "That could be extremely dangerous in the wrong hands." Ash nodded. "You're right. But nobody got our Pokémon. Right, Pikachu?" "Pika," Pikachu said happily. "Let's get some rest," Misty suggested. "Maybe we can figure this out in the morning." "Good idea," Ash said, yawning. Outside the park, Team Rocket was fuming. "When Misty came into our store, I couldn't believe our luck," Jessie said. "We should have had Pikachu all to ourselves by now," James complained. Meowth held its paws over its ears. "I can still hear that terrible singing," Meowth said. "I've heard alley cats make better music." "That annoying amateur, Ash, will be singing a different tune tomorrow," Jessie said. "We'll get Pikachu and all of the Pokémon in the talent show." "Of course," James said. "But what if Ash and his friends try to spoil our fun?" Jessie grinned. "We'll take care of them," she said. "I have a plan." Chapter 7. Brock's Big Moment. The next morning, Ash and his friends headed for the rehearsal hall. Inside, Pokémon and their trainers sat quietly in folding chairs. Sally waved them over. Her seal sat next to her. "Hey, Ash," Sally said. "I found my seal. It came back to me last night." "That's great," Ash said. "Now you can be in the contest." Gary and his cheerleaders approached them. What are you doing here? He asked. This is a dress rehearsal. Performers only. We are performing, Ash said. And you won't believe our act. That's right, Misty said. I'm going to sign us up right now. Misty walked over to the registration table. I'll believe it when I see it, Gary sneered. He turned around and went back to his seat. A man in a tuxedo spoke into a microphone on stage. I'm glad to see everyone here, he said. I'm Mr. Sullivan, the MC and manager of this talent show. Now it's time for our next act to rehearse, Dan and his dynamic duo. A boy around Ash's age stepped on stage and sat behind a piano. Two Pokémon followed him, a Pikachu and an orange-red Charmander. The little fire-type Pokémon looked like a lizard with a flame on the end of its tail. Both of the Pokémon wore bow ties. They gathered together around a Pokémon-sized microphone. Dan played a song on the piano. The Charmander and Pikachu sang along. Char char char. Pika pika pika. Ash's Pikachu hopped up and down in its seat. When the song was over, Pikachu smiled and applauded. Pikachu, it told Ash. You're right, Pikachu, Ash said. That act will be hard to beat. The MC came back on stage. Let's get Brock's rockin' band up here now, he said. Brock turned to Misty. Did you come up with that name? He looked nervous. Don't worry, Brock, Misty said. We're going to be great. Ash, Misty, Brock and Pikachu climbed on stage. Misty and Brock released Geodude and Horsea. Misty set up the chimes. Ash grabbed the cymbals. Pikachu and Togepi stood next to Brock, ready to dance. Hit it, Geodude! Misty said. Bam! Bam! Geodude banged out the beat. Ash waited for Brock to start the song. Brock opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Brock, what's wrong? Ash asked in a harsh whisper. I can't do it, Brock said. You call this an act? Gary shouted out from the audience. Ash tried not to panic. He had to think of a way to help Brock. I've got it! Ash cried. He ran out into the audience, up to a girl wearing a top hat. Can I borrow this for a few minutes? Ash asked her hurriedly. Sure, the girl replied, looking confused. The audience started to mutter and whisper amongst themselves. Ash ignored them. He got Horsea to fill the hat with water. Then he took some dishes from his backpack and put them in the water. Here you go, Brock, Ash said, putting the hat in front of his friend. Just like home. Puzzled, Brock stared at the dishes. Then he broke into a smile. Thanks, Ash, Brock said. Let's do it! Geodude banged out the beat again. Orb Brock washed the dishes. Then he started to sing, just like he always did when he was doing housework.